You're back in the Fantasy Bar, the special wild card weekend edition of the six pack. 6 of my favorite plays for you on the weekend for FanDuel and DraftKings, including some of my favorite values, some correlations, some games I want to get a lot of exposure to. We'll cover each and every position for you, give you some guys at all different price points. Who are we talking about? Only one way to find out. It's time to belly up to the Fantasy Bar. Welcome in, guys. Wildcard Weekend Edition, Beers Daily Fantasy Six-Pack. The playoffs are here, and we aren't going anywhere. Another video for you this week with 6 of my favorite plays covering this entire weekend. Thank you, as always, for stopping by and checking out this week's video. Before we get to those plays, do me a favor. Take a second, click that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Also, head over to our Scores and Odds YouTube page, where I'm going to give you 2 of my favorite prop bets for this weekend. Quick 1-minute video. Make sure you check that out again on our Scores and Odds YouTube page. Lastly, check out splashsports.com/RotoGrinders. If you haven't gotten over there yet, what are you waiting for? Some big contests lined up for the playoffs. Don't miss any of the action. The link in the description of the video. That's splashsports.com/RotoGrinders. All right, we got a bunch of different slates, as I'm sure you're aware of already. We're just going to cover the entire weekend. Lots of different slates to play these guys in. So let's get rocking and rolling. First pick, a guy we have been loving this season at the running back position, Bucky Irving of the Bucks. Now, some of you might be getting sick of seeing Bucky Irving in the six-pack, but I love seeing him in my lineups here. Been a staple for us this season and been very good to us. A great combination of floor and ceiling. 15 or more DraftKings points now in 10 of his last 12 games, so very consistent, getting the majority of the touches there now in Tampa Bay. We know that ceiling well into the high 20s, one game into the 30s this season. Washington really been struggling against the run here over the past 3 games, giving up over 162 rushing yards per game. And on the season, we're talking bottom 5 in rushing yards allowed and 16 rushing touchdowns allowed to this position. I think Bucky Irving in his smash spot here against the Washington Commanders. All right, speaking of Washington, let's go to that side with some correlation at the quarterback position with Jayden Daniels. Now, I love Jayden Daniels here on this weekend slate. My favorite quarterback by far. I think this game definitely has shootout potential. Vegas agrees. Highest total on the weekend at 50.5 here in this game. Now, you got to go all the way back to week 1 where these two teams squared off. One of the better games of the season for Jayden Daniels, over 28 DraftKings points in his first game, and he racked that up mostly on the ground, threw for under 200 yards and no touchdowns. So the way this kid has gotten better and better each and every week, expect the passing numbers to accompany those rushing numbers we know he's going to give us. Tampa Bay been a fruitful spot for quarterbacks this season. 3rd most passing yards allowed, 27 touchdowns, was bottom 10 in the league. Not many interceptions here for this team either. 4th fewest interceptions of the quarterback position. 6 rushing touchdowns was the 3rd most in the league. And of course, the 5th most fantasy points. Add it all up, Jayden Daniels, my favorite quarterback for Wild Card Weekend. All right, let's stay right there with Washington. Get you some value to pair up with Jayden Daniels and Olamide Zaccheaus. So look, I love Terry McLaurin as much as the next guy. I'll have some exposure there, but I really love this price for Zaccheaus here, who has really stepped up in the absence of another weapon outside of Terry McLaurin. We saw Noah Brown go down, and Zaccheaus has really stepped into me, one of, if not the best value on both sites here this weekend. Over the last 3 games, which includes that last Dallas game where they didn't really play the full game, over 7 targets per game, nearly 70 receiving yards per game, 3 touchdowns over that span, and averaging over 18 DraftKings points per game. Tampa Bay has been an absolute target for us with the wide receiver position. We're talking bottom 10 in receptions allowed, receiving yards, touchdowns, and fantasy points allowed. Zaccheaus, fantastic value with or without Jayden Daniels. All right, let's continue with some value and give you one of my favorite high-risk, high-reward plays at tight end with Isaiah Likely. Tight end, kind of a mess this week. We don't have a lot of the premier names that put up the numbers, and I love this spot for Isaiah Likely. Yes, Mark Andrews also in play, but expect him to be a lot higher owned than what you're going to see with Isaiah Likely. Zay Flowers just ruled out here right before I started recording. So I think you're going to get a lot of 2 tight end sets, and Likely becomes more of a wide receiver to pass catcher for this team in the absence of Zay Flowers. 2 games against Pittsburgh this season, he has been productive, averaging 4 receptions, 52 receiving yards. Pittsburgh, this has been a thorn in their side, the tight end position. 4th most receptions, 8th most touchdowns, and the 8th most fantasy points. I think Isaiah Likely, a sneaky play this week with a lot of upside, especially with no Zay Flowers. All right, to the running back position next with Aaron Jones of Minnesota. Now, the running back position loaded up this week with options at every single price point, but Aaron Jones' price really stood out to me over on DraftKings, just 6,000 here this week against the Rams. You got to go all the way back to week 3 to find a price this low on him. So a great buy low here in a good matchup, and a guy we know is going to be involved in the passing game for Minnesota here as well. Over the last 3 games, we're talking 16 targets and 12 receptions. We love those receiving points over on DK. The Rams, 22nd in the league against the run this season. Over the last couple games, team's definitely getting done on the ground, nearly 120 rushing yards per game. Another game that should have a lot of back and forth and potentially very high scoring. Aaron Jones in a good spot here against the Los Angeles Rams. All right, it's time. Take a look at my favorite play for Wild Card Weekend. Before we do that, let's continue our Beast of the Week contest. Easy to play. All you got to do, click that thumbs up button, head to the comment section, and guess fantasy points on DraftKings for my Beast of the Week. Whoever's guess is the closest, you're going to win yourself a free month of either RotoGrinders Premium or Scores and Odds Premium just for hanging out today in the Fantasy Bar. All right, let's wrap it up with my favorite play. You know him as the Beast of Wild Card Weekend. All right, Beast time. I owe you one more wide receiver. We're going to stay in that Monday night game with Puka Nacua of the Rams, this week's Beast of the Week. Now, I get it, a little frustrating. He's only available on that Monday night slate or the full week slate, but he is easily my favorite play on the weekend against this Minnesota defense, who we know very good against the run and horrific against the pass. In fact, no team in the entire league gave up more fantasy points to the wide receiver position this season than the Minnesota Vikings. Puka been putting solid scores on the board, 17 or more DraftKings points in 7 of his last 8 games. And over that 8-game stretch, we're talking big time ceiling games, 28, 24, 45, and 26. Ceiling unlimited here in this matchup. Love me some Puka Nacua against this Viking secondary, making him easily my favorite play on the board and this week's Beast of Wild Card Weekend. All right, that'll do it for our special Wild Card Weekend 6-pack. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, hit me up in that comment section right below the video. Don't forget your guess, Puka Nacua's fantasy output on DraftKings for a shot to win a free month of either RotoGrinders or Scores and Odds Premium just for simply hanging out today in the Fantasy Bar. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the playoff action this weekend. Go win some money, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for checking out our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more DraftKings, FanDuel, and other DFS content. And you can check out our daily live show schedule on RotoGrinders.com/videos.